Sure is a lot of stuff. Don't worry. I've changed my appearance, but, you know, sometimes I just do that. Let me show you how bad this ball joint was.
Welcome back to Skelly's Garage. Despite our best efforts, we have even more work to do on the rear suspension of Faff, my 2001 BMW 540i.
Sure is a lot of stuff. It is hot and humid today. It is like 28 degrees Celsius and also like 90% humidity, so it sucks. So let's see what we got. 1 integral link, 2 integral link. I believe they're even the same part number. They sure are. Control arms of various flavors. A lot of control arms. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. Rear ball joints. It's got a man here. It says, "Don't be a man with a big wrench." I hope that's big enough. And finally, along with these bushings, of which there are 4, these big bolts, of which there are 4, and these small, tiny bushing-like covers, I think they're technically called, I have this tool. This tool will assist in the replacement of these bushings for the subframe in situ, meaning I don't have to drop the actual entire subframe out, pull it out, and then, you know, work on all that. I definitely don't want to do that. I think it's probably time to get started. All right, let's take off the wheels. Right. So on the E39, the rear ball joint, it sits right here. You can't see it right now, but I'll show you once we get to it. But to get there, we have to remove this nut, this bolt, and a few other small things here, but that's all pretty easy. Let's get to it. All right, there's the bolt for the integral link. All right, now we need to remove the sway bar links. Now, if you see that nut, you'll notice that it has an eccentric, disc between it and the subframe. That's because it's responsible for alignment. So, before I take that off, I need to make sure that we put it back on correctly. So I'm going to mark it. I've made a couple of marks there, so now we should be good to remove. Let's see, are you? Definitely not that. Are you a 16? Are you an 18? Are you also an 18 on this side? The people want to know. You are? Okay. Just make short work of this. I believe you are a 16, however. Aye, that you are. Oh, infernal thing, yeah. You're never gonna believe this. There's been a complication. Here is the swing arm. It is kind of in like an H shape. If you look carefully, you can see the H. It's connected in 3 spots. Just there where you see that bolt, here where you'll see this bolt, and then here. If you look very carefully, you'll notice that there's something wrong here. The nut on the bolt has snapped off. First I thought that there was something wrong with the nut. Maybe that the threads were too rusted, but no. It's actually something far worse. These bushings have aluminum sleeves, and on top of that, they are not replaceable. Now, if those bushings wear out, the only solution that BMW would suggest would be to buy 2 brand new swing arms and install them at a reasonable cost of around $790 a piece. Reasonable. I can say this with a straight face because when you own a vintage BMW, life is pain. The aftermarket has come and, tried to solve this problem. There are some bushings that are available, poly bushings, monoball bushings, but I'm not even there yet. I can't get this swing arm out. And until I get this swing arm out, this car can't be driven. So what I'm faced with are 2 options. Either option number 1, I managed to get the bolt out and, well, that hasn't worked so far. The second option would require me cutting off this swing arm entirely, I'd have to cut it, then rotate it after I cut it, and then cut it again so that it would come off in 2 halves, and then I have to do the same thing to the bushing. That would be a whole to-do, but eventually it would come off. Then I would have to buy a new swing arm. And because you really shouldn't replace these kinds of components on just one side, I need to buy 2 swing arms. I'd really rather avoid such a thing. I'm gonna try to beat it out. We'll see how that works. It's not going to work, but we'll see. Maybe it will. Maybe we'll get lucky. We won't, but maybe.
I've utilized some special wood to lower the exhaust a little bit so I have a little bit more space to work with. It's not gonna help, but it might.
And so this pattern of beating, shouting at, rotating, and otherwise encouraging the bolt to leave the E39 subframe continued for 2 f***ing days. While my hammering was not achieving that much, it did move the bolt head just enough that I was able to finally jam something between it and the subframe. Then it was a matter of jamming increasingly more robust screwdrivers into the space until they could be used as leverage to drive the bolt out while rotating it.
I've been just rotating this bolt and putting like wrenches or screwdrivers or anything that will fit between the bolt and the subframe.
And then, finally, success.
There it is!
What you can see on this bolt, apart from the fact that it's broken, is that it's heavily, heavily corroded. It's because of something called either galvanic corrosion or galvanic oxidation, I can't remember. But basically, the steel of this bolt attaches itself to the aluminum of the inside of the bushing, and then you get this. I started this job 4 days ago, and this job should have been finished 4 days ago. F*** you.
Don't worry. I've changed my appearance, but, sometimes I just do that. Let me show you how bad this ball joint was. Here is a bolt. It's not supposed to do that. It's supposed to be pretty rigid, actually. I'm confident that the situation will be exactly the same on the other side. According to this, the ball joint was last replaced in 1940. It says 1940 on it. I'm sure that's a part number, but it's fun to think about. Anyway, the procedure on this is really not that difficult. What you need is a pair of snap ring pliers, which I have, but I don't have any that are big enough for this. I don't think. Let me check. Nope. When you realize you don't have snap ring pliers that are big enough for this snap ring, what you need is a screwdriver. In a moment, I'm going to start taking off the ball joints on the rear left side. However, there's really not a good angle for me to show you what is happening. So let me show you what happens before it actually happens. To start, we have this tool, which I rented from an auto parts store, and you can too. It is well, not all that sophisticated in terms of tools, and this tool is attached thusly. You may have these plates, or they may be integrated into the cups. There are many different varieties of this tool, but the basic premise is very simple. One takes a cup, fits it over the ball joint, and takes another cup and fits it over the other end of the ball joint, and then rotates this, and then it pushes it out of the wheel carrier and into the receiver. Very simple. It's hard enough to show it to you out here, but I just don't think that with the angles I'm going to be able to meaningfully show you anything. Now that's a ball joint. Yeah, mate. All right.
It quickly became obvious to me that the auto parts ball joint press was not going to be suitable due to its size, which was a disappointment.
Son of a gun!
And so, I bought a tool specifically designed for E38 and E39 ball joints, and promptly started to use it to push the ball joint out in the incorrect direction. Fortunately, I realized my error pretty quickly.
I might be an idiot. No, I am an idiot. I was doing it backwards. There we go. The bastard is free.
Huh. What happened here? That should definitely not just slide in.
This is ridiculous. This episode should have been out 2 weeks ago. But, you know, cars do that. So, in the process of trying to replace the rear ball joint, I broke a bolt in the swing arm, spent 4 days trying to get the swing arm out, finally got it out, took the ball joint out, which, that was fun, and then discovered that the new ball joint that I bought doesn't fit. Let's find out why. This is the old ball joint that came out of the car. And this is the new 11th ball joint that I bought, which should replace that. They should be the same size. We're about to find out if that's the case. For that matter, I have a pair of calipers. Now these are meant to be digital calipers, but the battery's dead, so we're gonna just read them manually. What I'm looking for is the outer diameter of the ball joint that I took out. 2.06 inches. I know. This is an old caliper and it measures in tenths of an inch. Actually, it measures in 1/100ths of an inch. And, well, isn't that interesting? 2.04 on the new one. What? 2.06. 2.04. So there is 0.2 of an inch difference. This was originally a milipod. Despite the fact that Lamfetta makes very good parts, maybe the new Miley will work better. Let's have a look. No. Unfortunately not. I've decided that I'm going to take the suspension off on the other side and see how the other ball joint looks. If the new replacement ball joint fits exactly the same as it does on this side, which is to say loosely, then, well, I'll have to figure something out. But if it fits correctly, then I'll know that this wheel carrier just got corroded and worn out. And I guess we'll have to deal with that. In the meantime, though, there is some cutting to be done. Remember this big control arm? Well, it's stuck on the threads. It's mostly out, I just need to cut off the nut to get it all the way out. Which is fine because I'm not reusing the nut, and I'm not reusing the control arm, so that's all there is to do. Yes! Nice! Finally. You know, it's weird. The left side on the rear has fought me every step of the way. This is the side that I had to cut the sway bar links off. I had to cut this off. I'm not going to be that surprised if I have to cut this off. Maybe I should just cut the whole thing off. Anyway, it's time to go home. We'll pick this back up tomorrow.
Hi, it's me from the editing desk. That last segment was filmed in the beginning of August, specifically August 2nd. August was a very fun-filled month. There was the small matter of moving house, throw in a wedding, home improvement, and a tiny bit of major flooding, and you've got a recipe for 6 hours of sleep in a calendar week. How long does it take to recover from that though? Well, between finishing the move and physically recovering, about 3 to 4 weeks. Anyway, let's get back to it.
My voice is just like messed up. I don't know what's going on. So what's in the box? Well, a few minutes ago for you and about a month ago for me, I discovered that the bore for the ball joint that's in the wheel carrier has been deformed. Now whether that's because it had galvanic corrosion or because I destroyed it trying to take the ball joint out the wrong way, I guess either is possible really, that's not super relevant. What it does mean is that the wheel carrier is no longer usable. So here's a new one. Does this add scope? Yes. Does this add complexity? Also yes. Let's replace it. Oh, it's got a ball joint. It does have another control arm, but this one is very clearly toast. I don't intend to replace the handbrake cable, so I'm going to take this one off and put on the one that is on the car. So this control arm, I guess this is the upper control arm. It's also got an eccentric bolt. So I'm going to mark that as well before we continue. The reason that I mark it is so that when we put it back on, we know which way to align it. Obviously, this will need to go get aligned afterwards, but it's good to get at least close so that we can drive it to the shop. Come on! Once you've bent the tabs on the nut out, I think this is called a crown nut, but I'm not sure. Then you need to find the right socket, which I have. It is a very big socket that I know I have seen here because I have bought it and I have done this job a few times. This job was meant to be done in an afternoon. Are you her? No. I don't know why I have this one. Excellent! Defeated again. I don't have the socket. I don't know where it is. I don't know what to do. This is. Don't worry, it's not like I've been without a car. I mean, I've been without this car for a month. And I've been without the X5 for more. Luckily, I don't have to rely on either one of these cars. But this is annoying. I definitely had this socket. I've done this job several times. Not on the E39 for sure, but like I've done them on my E46. I've broken axles. I've had to replace them. It turns out if you put a numerically high diff into the 330 Ci and weld it, and you launch the car, you'll break the driver's side axle. Anyway, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you one thing. I'm really frustrated with how long it's taking me to do something that should have honestly taken me maybe a day. Anyway, I'm going to pause here because, well, this is your proof of life. Today is, well, it was when I started Saturday, September 9th. Today is now Sunday, September 10th. So we'll see when this video actually comes out. So, what I'm going to do, because, well, I mean, I've moved to my house, right? And my driveway is completely clear of oil stains. So, this needs to get over there stat. And it's been here all this time. So I'm gonna order this socket for the second time. Once that gets here, we'll take that off, put the new carrier on, and go from there. I still have to do the other side, but me being Mr. Foresight, I didn't really leave myself very much space on that side, so I'd rather not try to do all this work without appropriate amount of space. So this side needs to get done first, then we lower the car, pull it out, rotate it, and do the other side. I really hate to leave a job unfinished while releasing an episode, but this is getting ridiculous. So we'll do the standard, whatever it is that we do. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Sam. This is Faff. This is Skelly's Garage. I have some wonderful patrons who support this channel. You could become one if you'd like. You should follow me on Instagram because I do post there more frequently than I post videos, which I guess it's a really low bar. We're gonna finish this soon, and because in a month this is going to get all of this body work addressed. Isn't that gonna be exciting? Oh, and one final thing. I'll give you a little bit of a teaser. What is that? What is that? You know what that is. Nice. Anyway, with that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. I discovered that it's called a wheel carrier. A wheel carrier.